Hey guys, so welcome back to the channel. I have a short video now doing a test on a 2008 Land Rover LR3 instrument cluster. This customer was here, or this cluster was here before. Let me just see if I can see that here. Let me see if I can see the date. Trying to open one of the files to see, show more options, properties. So he was here in April of this year, and now is back. His concern was intermittent instrument cluster, and now is acting up again. He said that when he connected the last time, the actual cluster kind of like flickers a little bit, and then it worked good. Nothing, um, not it was not a problem. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to do another thing here. So, available software. I'm trying to update the top down at the same time. Let me update this in the meantime I'm talking. All right, so that went good. All right, so I was about to connect because the cluster came on, no problem. But now it's actually, okay, you see this time came on. So I'm going to leave this on because the cluster was not working. So I'm going to definitely try to connect to make sure that we get communication. This might not be the right way. I just click communication, but I doubt it's going to communicate straight to the instrument cluster. This is like when you have the entire car or the PCM. But either way, I right click it. So let's try that. I know that's not going to work, but what I did notice is if I let this cluster like this, and this is this concern, it will shut off. He said the brake light stays on, and in my case, I think nothing stays on. All right, so we're going to select European. In the meantime, I'm just going to keep so you guys can see a little bit in there. Let me look for Land Rover. Try to keep, everything. So we are, I don't remember because this, let me see if I remember how I did this. Was it in Defender or Discovery? Let me see, Discovery 3. No. Give me 1 second, guys. All right, so it is Discovery 3 natural normal aspirated. That's what I selected. The bean is being red. I don't think that's going to work. But in the meantime, that is still working good. I'm just going to leave it in there. It took like at least, I would say maybe a good 3 minutes, 2.5 minutes. So in the meantime, we will be doing the communication. So, okay, we are here. And let's look for the instrument cluster. When you are, if you're working in top down and you don't see, because sometimes they put the names not as the manufacturer, more like a generic, and we can see here instrument cluster. In this case, it's called instrument cluster 2, but you can go over to system lists and this will give you the correct name just in case you are there and you don't find like, like a BMW DME, not an ECM, right? And actually, before we do this, we have the ECM here and yeah, ECM. So I guess in this one, oh, I went too far back. I'm sorry about that, guys. Either way, we're waiting in that. I want to, for the customers and for my records, I want to keep that on because it did happen one time and I want to record it. I'm uploading a video that is almost ready to be presented to you guys about a 2014 BMW X6 that I'm doing test on the batch on it with a new Picoscope 4425A. So if you're in looking for a good video, that one is coming up very shortly. Well, by the time I presented this one, it's already up. So, all right, so let's try to get communication and we can do actuation tests. Um, let's do gauges, fuel gauge pointer position. That will be right there. So let's start. and we can see how the gauge is indeed doing it. Perfect. So the way that I'm doing it in here, I got to actually select what I do and then click start. Now we change the needle position and it's following good. So you can see communication is perfect. So when you exit, the needle will go back to its place. We can go to temperature again and then oh, that right there. Perfect. So this is exactly what he has experienced. He's losing communication. He's losing the cluster. And that's exactly what we have. So I'm so happy that I now can duplicate it. And this took, I will see and compare my notes in the video to see how long exactly when I turn it on to the actual reaction. But yeah, so Aaron, I'm going to take the cluster apart, resolder again some of the areas that are more common. I don't think it's in the connector because I was telling him make sure it's not the connector on the vehicle, the one that's creating this, but we can see here that that is not the case. So something is definitely cycling. I'm going to double check everything inside the cluster and then put the following on the video with the repair and waiting about the same time that we just did here. So let's stay tuned. Be right back. All right, guys, I just finished the repairs. Resolder that is around 12 minutes to 4. Actually, let me get the time from the computer. So it is 3:47 p.m. I'm going to let just, as you can see, I got no needles or anything connected. We know that that is all working good and it's just losing. I went back to the video and it took around 4 minutes and 10 seconds. So let me, again, 3:47. Let's say 3:48. So around no, 3:52. We can come back, right? 3:53. So I'm going to start the video and we'll be back 3:53. If nothing has happened, I will be back and otherwise keep checking the cluster. All right, guys, we're back here. Right now we're in actually 3:54 p.m. So that's actually more time than before. I'm going to probably stay in the video for, let's give it another 3 minutes. Um, I'm going to use this time so we can see what is going on. I don't have any needles or any connected, but I can get the scanner to connect, so we can use that for this. Connections as far as I have here, let me just put the scanner on the bench and power up. For testing these uh, cluster, it's pretty easy connections. I have everything in here and I got it marked up. So this is a 32 pin connector on the back of the cluster, and they're marked 1 to 16 and then 17 to 32. The 31 and 32 are grounds, as we can see here. Two powers are coming from pin 15, which is the ignition, and then a BBAT on 16. And then I use the illumination so we can see all the lights on, and I can take those off as you can see. All the lights are coming on. Then communications are in pin 1 and pin 2. I also have that, so DLC to instrument cluster. We can see the pin 6 from the DLC goes into pin 1 on the instrument cluster, and then 14 goes to pin 2. Pretty easy to connect when you have a box like this. Again, this is a universal test platform that you can get from Wakesy. Um, and then this has an OVD port that I can connect the scanner to it. All right, so let's do the same thing we did before. And in the meantime, we're letting that be connected and see if it reacts again, which I'm hoping it's not, and it's fixed. These are very common failures on these. It's very hard to fix because of the glue they put around the ICs trying to, keep the components in place from vibrations on the vehicle and so on, right? All right, so we're going to go to a scan on the tab down, European, and Rover. We select that. Going to keep it like this so you guys can see that the cluster is indeed on. Again, if you're trying to do a bench test, this is the way you have to do it. And manually select Discovery, Discovery 3, normal aspirated V6. It's going to try to read the bean, and that's not going to work. But we can then go over to the actuations and just, make sure that we can communicate. All right, so we are here. We're going to go over to the instrument cluster and then actuated test. Since I don't have any needles, I can actually just put one for the sake of this so we can see some movements. I don't want to stick it too much, but we can see at least those two moving. Not sure if I'm putting them in the correct orientation, but for what it is, we don't really need it too much. So let's go over to the engine temperature. So we're going to put it into maybe whatever 20% and see if it moves. And we can see how that one moves. Then we can just exit and that will let it come back to down. Fuel gauge position, we're going to do the same thing. Just click in position and then start. And we can see that actually went down. So we're going to select more, let's say 50%. And we can see that needle trying to go up is not all the way in. Let me exit. And we can see how it went actually up because the needle was not in. All right, so let's do it again. And this one is normally up when the cluster is connected. So if we go over to now to 20%, it should go down, and it did. So we see that, and when we exit, it just goes up, which I just did. All right, so communication and everything is good. I don't see any more problems, and we are now in, what's the time? 3:59 p.m. So that is 10, almost 10 minutes. This was acting up before this, so I can call this as a good. We're now 5 minutes after I started the video, so we are 5 and 4. So yeah, around 10 minutes. This is a fix. All right, so I will be just calling the customer to pick up. This is under warranty. No call, no cost for the customer. His name is Aaron Betts. It's a little hard for me to say his last name, but this is definitely a fix. And I tell him that I will record a video doing the test and will reproduce his concern and now do the fix. The only thing that I now need to do is put everything back together, set up the needles, and he's very handy. I noticed that he took this apart after I did the repair because one of these needles was missing the cover. I think it's this one, and he already put it on. So it's not a problem if the needles are not in the correct place, and he can do that, on the car, because I can just put it as the way he brought it over to me. So if he knows that a little bit off, and then he can correct that. So those are easy, simple tasks that he can do. But yeah, I always calibrate them in here as where they were as the cluster comes to me. So if you took the needles off, please let me know, and then I will try to check, make sure that they're going from minimum sweep to maximum sweep. Otherwise, I will just put them exactly as they were. All right, guys, I will not take more of your time. Thank you so much for visiting the channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you next time. Bye-bye. Hey, Aaron, right here. I just want to show you that I did also the needles calibrations. I have probably right now the instrument cluster for probably, let me see what time is it now, 4:15, close to 30 minutes on, and no more issues. Before it was acting up every 4 minutes. I was able to reproduce your concern 100%. I want to show you the calibrations on the needle, so I'm going to try to put this so close in here that you can see that. All right, going to start with the fuel gauge. I'm going to put them in 50% so we can go exactly to half a tank. All right, so you can see how it's exactly half a tank. All right, so let's go over to the engine temperature. The engine temperature is a little different than the other one because it does not have a 50%, but I'm going to go over to the 50%. If we stop that, That's around the 50% because this goes actually beyond. If I go 0, we're gonna see that it's actually on the cold side right there. So I'm gonna put them at 0. You can see that it's actually perfectly with the blue line. So that is perfectly calibrated. All right, going now to the tachometer. I'm going to go over to 50%, and this one is 51%. So now we have 8 is around 51%. If we go down to 0, that should go back to the 0 mark, and it's perfectly in 0. That is a little hard to calibrate on this cluster, but it's perfectly. And let's go last on the speedometer. So I want to put it same thing, you know, around 50%. So in this case, it's going to be like 74 miles per hour. And that's around 74, 76 miles per hour. So that's perfectly. You can see the needles around the middle. And if I exit, that should come back to 0, and it's going exactly to 0. So yeah, the communication and everything is now fully restored. I will not suspect more issues. I was buried throughout the entire board this time. I resoldered the microprocessor and some other components that I think is never going to happen. Well, at least not in a very long time, hopefully. And like I said, I was very throughout. Sorry that it did fail. I mean, it's very hard to repair this cluster for this issue because it's very intermittent. But now that you were able to bring it to me, happen more often, I was definitely able to reproduce and then retest, and now knowing that it's not going to happen. All right.